Welcome to Swim Easy Speed. Today we're going to look at, this video came in from an athlete, reached out to me on the Triathlon Swim Advice Forum that I had created and wanted to see if I could take a look at his video. He just got an analysis done in an endless pool. He said he had some decent video and would I take a look? So absolutely. So here we go. So what we're going to see is, you can see, and this was pointed out in the video, he's dropping that back end significantly. So the one thing that you'd want to work on first would be that. The endless pool's exaggerating this a little bit, this angle right here. But at the end of the day, this is all drag. And then the feet being down like that, that's just going to bring the back end down. Now, what this is telling us is that either the core isn't engaged enough, the legs aren't connected to the core as much as they could or should be, and or this athlete doesn't really have a great feel for where that balance in the water is. So those were all things that you'd want to address on a very fundamental level. Getting the core to engage, lengthening out. Remember, the longer that we get on the water, so the longer that is, the more likely that we're going to just pop up onto the water. With the idea being that, the longer you are, the less basically each little square inch of body has to hold up in the water. So if you get really, really long, you'll notice that it's very easy then to pop up in the water. Now here it looks like he's almost doing kind of a catch-up stroke, and then, his feet are almost touching the bottom. This athlete just needs to swim more. A lot of this stuff would be cleaned up just by good or bad technique. Just swimming more, and swimming preferably with people, would really help. So here's kind of, one of the things that he wants to look at. That's just, it's too acute of an angle right there. He's not getting the maximum amount of leverage. You figure midline is probably somewhere right about there. So it's tough to tell from this angle, but he's probably crossing over that midline underneath his body. He's got his head kind of basically down underwater. You'd prefer to have the water line right about there on the head. Maybe the chin up just a little bit. That's going to relax the neck and shoulders, which also tends to bring up that back end. As we keep on going forward, you can see where he's directing the hand. Remember, what we're trying to do is get the most amount of stability in the water, so that we can direct all of that propulsion straight back. So you can see right here, he's driving the propulsion that he's generating over that direction, slips the hand a little bit, so it's still going off to the side. Now, as it comes back through, you can see that it starts to point that direction, and then he slips it out of the water. So there's very little where he's actually driving the stroke straight back, driving that water straight back, which would then drive him straight forward. And that's what we want to do. Instead, what's going on is, because he's unstable in the water, he's having to sacrifice power and efficiency to try and increase his stability. And that's not something that, is ever going to lead to success in the water. And so here's where, we can really see where some of that instability is coming from. So if we look, right here, he's turning onto his side to get the breath. We're right at around 78, maybe 80 degrees off the plane of the water. So he's turning onto his side to get the breath, which then moves that shoulder like that. That puts the midline right here. That puts that hand right at the start of the catch. So the most important part of the swim stroke, when you are setting that catch, when you're trying to get everything squared, really get that good grab on the water, that bite of the water that you're going to take and throw back to the wall behind you, he's out of position to really lever the water. So he's not going to get that maximum amount of pressure on his hand to carry through the stroke, which is then all just propulsion. So that would be kind of some of the stuff that I would, really kind of think about with him. Here's some of the after changes, and it looks like whoever worked with him was really intent on getting him this high elbow catch that everybody talks about, or early vertical forearm. So you can see he breaks that wrist right here, and then just kind of scoops the water in, just with it, and it looks like it's just with his shoulder, because it doesn't really look like terribly coordinated with the rest of his body. And you know, this isn't really the best way to go about getting that. He's got to, now it looks like the back end's come up a little bit. His head's still pretty low in the water, which means that the core is not engaged enough. He's not as long on the water as he could or should be. And then they're already talking about trying to, do this with the hand, which, to get that early vertical forearm right there. But it doesn't look like the rest of the body is terribly connected to it, which is going to make it, just not that it might look a little bit like it, but it really isn't. So, that's kind of some of the stuff that I would recommend for him. He just needs to get in the water, swim more, kick with the brick, do kick sets in general, but always think about right now getting that core to engage. Don't worry about the stroke as much. Worry about trying to create as much stability as possible in the water. So as always, thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the pool soon.